Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about Tesla's decline in EV market share, what this means for Tesla, and then the broader EV market. Before we get into the video though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Let's talk sales numbers to make sense of everything that is happening with Tesla's falling market share, and again, what this really means for Tesla. So first off, last year, Tesla actually had a pretty solid sales year. They sold about 300,000 cars here in the US and almost 1 million cars globally. Now, just to put those numbers into context, if we look at Ford and Toyota, which are also really big automakers, Ford sold just under 2 million cars here in the US, Toyota sold just over 2 million cars here in the US, and then globally, Ford sold about 4 million cars, and then Toyota sold, well, 10 million cars, because Toyota is an absolute behemoth. Like, people don't really understand like the scale of Toyota, and that's why they have so much money to do whatever they want, because yeah, they sell a lot of vehicles. But that shows that Tesla is a big automaker, but it's nowhere near the scale of legacy automakers like Ford, Toyota, General Motors, so on and so forth. And their market share also kind of shows this, because peak Tesla has pretty much already happened here in the US. So 2020, Tesla had about 79% of the EV market under their fist. And then 2021 came around and that dropped to just under 70%. And this year it's expected to drop even more. Not as much as that 10% drop, but it is expected to drop. And the current sales numbers kind of show this. So Tesla so far has sold just over 100,000 units with the Model Y and Model 3. And Tesla still holds 4 of the top 5 places for EV sales numbers here in the US. Number 3 is the Ford Mustang Mach-E, which is just under 20,000 units so far. The Tesla Model S is right around 15,000 units, and then the Model X is right around 13,000 units, roughly. And so, yeah, Tesla is still dominating the market, so it's not like they're shriveling up and dying and disappearing anytime soon. But they're no longer 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Now there's Ford in play, and once Ford gets more deliveries with the F-150 Lightning, I'm sure that that is going to dethrone the Model X and then the Model S pretty soon in terms of sales numbers, and Tesla will no longer hold 4 of the top 5 spots. And frankly, there are other cars that I think are going to do really well here in the US in the near future. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 has been really successful, 13,000 units with that, and then the Kia EV6 is closing in on 13,000 units as well, which is basically really close to the Model S and the Model X, and those are far more affordable than those 2 models from Tesla. And so there's a lot of affordable EVs that are hitting the market that soon will be sold in massive quantities that, again, will kind of slowly erode away Tesla's market share. But this isn't necessarily all doom and gloom, because even though Tesla is losing market share, they are selling more vehicles than ever. And so basically the EV pie is slowly growing over time here in the US, an emphasis on slowly, even though there are certain parties that want it to grow a lot faster than what is naturally happening. Still, it is growing, and Tesla's little piece of pie is shrinking, but the overall pie is growing at a rate faster than Tesla's little piece is shrinking, if that makes sense. So Tesla still has a really big piece. And there are some analysts that think that within the next 5 to 10 years, Tesla's piece will go from being almost the entire pie to maybe only 5 to 10% of this market share pie with EVs, which makes sense because at this point, Tesla is not really in every person's EV automaker like we thought they were going to be. They're more of a luxury EV automaker, because most people that are cross-shopping Teslas with other cars are basically cross-shopping Teslas with luxury cars. They're not really cross-shopping Teslas with Fords or, you know, Toyotas or, you know, just other regular non-luxury brands. Basically, people will cross-shop Teslas with BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and other brands like that. And so, again, like I said, we're pretty close to peak Tesla unless they drastically change things and start releasing really affordable models, which is what they've been saying they're going to do for the longest time, but they don't really seem to be doing that. And so now we're going to get into the speculation point of the video. So if you don't want to listen to any speculation, then I guess you can click off at this point. And this is where I throw on my tinfoil hat and tell you guys what I think is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years with Tesla based on the research that I have done. So first off, I think that Tesla's sales numbers are going to continue to increase, but just like the numbers suggest, their overall market share is going to continue to decrease. Now, are they only going to be about 5 to 10% of the overall EV market in the next 5 years or so? I'm not so sure about that. I think they're still going to have market domination because they have such a strong name here in the US in the EV world. Legacy automakers are definitely going to erode a lot of their market share, but again, that brand name is so strong. There's basically a cult following with Tesla at this point. So I think it might be a little bit higher than those numbers in terms of their overall market share. And also, I think it's going to take legacy automakers a little bit longer than they expect to really ramp up production with their own EVs. And so that is also going to give Tesla a little bit more time in the sun where they have a little bit more market share. That being said, I don't think that Tesla is ever going to surpass legacy automakers in terms of their overall vehicle sales per year. I think that they're probably going to sit somewhere in the 2 to maybe 4 million vehicles per year in terms of their overall sales numbers. So yeah, they might be as big as a company like Ford, but I don't think they're ever going to surpass bigger companies like Toyota in terms of their sales numbers, because there's a lot of people that are still not on the EV bandwagon, and Tesla doesn't offer any other cars other than EVs. And like I said, Tesla is still a luxury automaker at this point. Their least expensive vehicle is still $50,000 here in the US starting, and the packages that people actually order are over $60,000 typically with the Model 3 and with the Model Y, which is almost $15,000 more expensive than the average price of a brand new car. And so I think that's probably going to be the sweet spot, is probably about 1 million more units than what they're selling right now. And you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tesla is going to sell 10 million cars a year, but I think that they would have to release a lot more models at a much lower price to really increase the volume above what they have right now, and at a rate that is faster than the rate of other brands releasing their own EVs. Because I mean, if we look at just like the luxury segment, for example, Mercedes has an EV now, BMW has an EV, Audi has an EV, Porsche has an EV, and yes, Tesla still has their whole charging network situation that greatly benefits them in the EV luxury segment compared to these other automakers. But those automakers are going to continue to release more and more EVs, and so now people are not just choosing from going from like a ICE luxury car to Tesla. They're choosing between an EV car from a legacy automaker and from Tesla, and so it's basically a lot more competition for Tesla overall in that luxury segment. And like I said, they just aren't in the non-luxury segment at this point. And so if we kind of move further into the future, what I see happening is Tesla just being another one of the American automakers. And probably in a couple decades we are all going to be driving EVs. That seems like that is the trend, what is being pushed by everyone. And so we're basically just going to have to accept the fact we're going to be living in a world where we're going to have Ford and General Motors and Tesla, and maybe Stellantis won't own Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Chrysler anymore. Who knows? They always seem to get sold to one manufacturer to another. It's pretty crazy with that whole setup. But I think they've pretty much cemented themselves at this point. And so I think it's pretty safe to assume that they're going to have pretty similar sales numbers to legacy automakers, but they are not going to get rid of the legacy automakers. Those automakers are still going to be around. And so I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say on this topic and what you think is going to happen with Tesla long term. Do you think that they're eventually just going to disappear, like the hype's going to die down and people are just going to not buy them anymore? Or do you think that they are going to be cemented in as just another one of the big American automakers? I'll see ya.